Conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call to order the March 9th, 2026 work session. Order at 6 p.m. Any corrections or additions to the agenda tonight? Okay, anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as read? Motion's been made by Councilor Webb. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Norman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Moving right into discussion, streets funding and
All right, so we're going to have a discussion in a little bit, just big picture street stuff moving forward. But I do want to just kind of catch everybody up with the small city allotment grant. Kind of, there's been changes over the last couple of years, and that's going to play a lot into future decision making by council. So what we did in the past is we would just put in paving, and whatever extra money we had in the budget, we tack on top of that. They always just approved it, and we just paved as much as we could pave for the SCA money, and then whatever excess money we had in the budget. And we did that for 20 years. We got a lot of streets paved, did the chip sealing on the tree streets, got a lot done. And then they started to kind of change the rules, and they weren't really good about explaining. Oh, well, I guess I was going to talk about a couple other things. I talked about the pros. We got a lot of repaving done all across the city, the chip sealing. But during that 25 years, there wasn't a lot of thinking forward, saving money for bigger projects, that sort of thing. Although we did budget things like the preliminary engineering for state and not street, stuff like that. But they did a couple of weird things. They changed the funding cycle from every year to every other year. And then they kind of changed the requirements, what they want, their grading system on how they award the grants. And they didn't really tell the cities that. They just let us keep going forward. And then after we failed, then they said, oh, well, we changed. And Angie got a email from the gal at the state because supposedly, while they were in this transition, we gamed the system and got an extra $250,000. So out of the state, because we weren't supposed to go 2 years in a row, and they failed to notice that we did that. And then we didn't know about the change in grading. And so last year we put in just to finish, and literally we had one cycle left to really get all of our poor and marginal streets repaved for the most part. And we didn't get it. So the big changes are, it is every other year. And now they want to see larger projects. So before we would put in 12, 16 even streets for paving, that immediately gets you, don't even get to the grading process. They only want to see a couple of projects, and they want bigger projects. The grading now involves having a pedestrian component. You get extra points if there's like stormwater and, sidewalk, that sort of thing. So the days of let's just get the money and just do as much repaving as we can are over. So in the future, we're going to have to be more selective. We're going to have to find more qualifying projects to do. So I kind of see why. I wish they would have been more upfront about it, but I understand it. They have a limited amount of money, and they want to see it going towards, when they award the money, they want to see it going towards bigger projects, right? They kind of see it like these small towns, they can, just repaving Fifth Avenue or something up on the hill. We should figure that out on our own, right? This is supposed to be money for bigger projects where city might not be able to afford the sidewalk and stormwater component and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what they changed to. I appreciate that. I just wish that they would have been more upfront about it. And even 3 years ago when they started making these changes. So at any rate, we were kind of a little bit behind. I just made a couple of again, there should be one. There's only 3 copies each of these, but the 2 projects that we're going to be putting in for are Jefferson Avenue between the market and the between the market and the post office there.
They're different.
There's two different ones. And that was just the estimate, and then it's just Robert's rough
Okay, you guys have one of each.
sketch.
Two, you have one of each there.
So I have a Jefferson. What do you got, Rick, up top?
This is Jefferson.
Okay,
This
so
is
these,
Jefferson, Washington, so you guys can,
yeah.
or I can look with you. You want to see?
And those are just for reference. Ask me if you don't, they weren't really part of the packet, but just to kind of give you an idea of the 2 projects. So Jefferson Avenue, there's some sidewalk and approach upgrades there where we've got problems. The sidewalk from down, trying to think of the east side there, in front of 4 Stags and then up to the post office. That sidewalk's in really bad shape. We have gotten lots of complaints about that. So, and redoing the approaches and then the sidewalk ramps at Jefferson and Maple there. And then on Washington, that will be kind of the side where the old Buckhorn parking was there. There was never a sidewalk. There was old concrete that was their side street parking. It's completely gone. Well, now ODOT's gone and put in this really nice crosswalk, and it just leads into a mud puddle. And we've had a lot of problems with access there off of Washington into the flood buyout parking lot. And so this will also put full curb there and then actually put like a 24-foot, a real access. And then Jeff's going to put in more bollards there to actually restrict that. So we just don't have this wide open, the whole thing just pouring out onto the street. And then continuing the sidewalk all the way to North Street there. And then some paving. We have some paving issues there, mainly just off a bridge because there wasn't a curb and gutter there. We repaved Washington. I think that was one of the first projects that SCA projects that I was involved with. Well, that was brand new, but because there was no curb and gutter there and that old concrete from the parking, and then after the flood demo and stuff like that, that asphalt doesn't have anything holding it up. And so it's really started to chunk up. So once we get good curb and gutter there and can do some grinding and repaving of those areas where the asphalt started to deteriorate pretty
So
badly.
what caused the asphalt to chunk up?
There was nothing on the side, like where there was a concrete slab that was, you remember, was the parking next to the side of the pine cone right off of the street. Well, that all deteriorated and there's nothing, as that kind of slumped up and that concrete broke up, there was nothing holding the asphalt. So it's kind of like, the asphalt was shifting and.
So it has nothing to do with the base under.
No, it just needs ground, but you don't want to just grind and repave that with nothing there to hold it back. So, but there will be full curb and gutter there. And then that sidewalk will be the whole width. There will be no planter strip there. So it'll be nice and wide for, our big events, for Jamboree and stuff like that. So And then it'll redo the alley approach and all of that, and then continue the sidewalk down to north. So those are the two projects that we're going to be submitting for. We're going to talk about another project later on. Or should I just talk about it now? So these two, there's 250,000 available. You know, these two projects come in just over 200,000. One of the reasons that we didn't even get graded on last year's is because we submitted too many projects. And, you know, when I talked to Deanna at ODOT, who administers this, she's like, they're looking for one, maybe two bigger projects. And I'm kind of gun shy about a third project, but we've started to have Texas Avenue has been degrading. And now ODOT has put that crosswalk there that never existed before. And so kids, instead of going down to the Missouri crosswalk, are starting to turn up there. And of course, Stephanie lives up there. There's a lot more children pedestrian traffic. They're getting to the top of the hill and they're cutting straight across. Texas is in bad shape. It's rough for cars. And now we have a rough road where people swerve to miss potholes and stuff. And now we've got an excess of kids cutting up there on foot too. And so I believe it was in there, it would come out to be like $260,000 if we added Texas on as a third SCA project, but I'm really nervous about us getting disqualified again for just tacking on another paving project. And then we're out another year on SCA. And, you know, especially Jefferson, I don't know. I mean, we all go down to the store. You've seen how bad the road is. That's the biggest problem. And we get complaints. Well, I've even tripped, you know, and it isn't that entire block is a crosswalk, right?
Yeah.
People are walking between the post office and the store and there's a giant crack or a couple of giant cracks in the middle of the road. So I don't know. I'm gun shy about tacking on Texas, but
What
I
if
don't
you
know.
switch Texas with Washington? Maybe consider that before. Is that a possibility?
Well, we could do that, but we'd be even less because like Texas is only like 70,000 in paved, and it's just a straight up paving job. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure what to do. You know, it was always so simple before. We just put in, they gave us the money, we paved and went about our business. And now, so at any rate, that was kind of one of the questions that I had for council. You know, do we risk it and tack on Texas as a paving project? And
I'm thinking if kids are using it like you're saying, we're almost gonna have to put a sidewalk in up there too. Otherwise, they're gonna be walking down the street just like they are now.
well, that's Jeff and I and Robert, city engineer, went up there. There isn't
a good grade for the sidewalk.
So yeah, you've got a ditch on one side and on the other side, it's a lot of older houses that are built part of the reason that we have setbacks now, because, you know, if we'd be reclaiming chunks of people's yards, which is in the public right of way. And then they're having a sidewalk right up on their front porch and shortening their driveways. And then they're going to pull in their driveways and their vehicles. It's kind of a mess.
Go ahead, Susan.
Thank you. So a couple questions. So the two projects that you have listed here with Jefferson, Washington, are 71 and 127, or are there additional costs in addition to that?
That's everything.
Okay, so that's 198 for the two of them. Okay. So in other grants, you've had the opportunity to talk to your coordinator.
That's
Ask.
Deanna that has been talking.
Yeah, so can you run this by her and say,
She's not gonna, and it's actually a governor appointed board that reviews these. She's just the administrator.
no, I know.
Oh, yeah.
But her advice was 1, maybe 2.
Okay, well, if that's her advice, then do not do 3.
Yeah, see, that's what I was.
Absolutely not.
Can I ask a question?
Well, I mean,
The mayor has to-
the mayor could,
Yeah, I was just gonna, I understand both points of view and, you know, I was up at the school and when I was driving the school bus, I see there's almost as many kids that go up to Texas where the Ballards are, we can't go through to walk home there. And a lot of kids live up on Owe Hill. And a lot of kids go down Texas and cross there to go down the hill. And yeah, it'd be nice if there was a sidewalk there for them. And I understand Donald's concern. But I kind of agree with Ben. I think we've kind of pushed it in the past and let's, my opinion, let's just come in with under the 250,000 for this first year. And then if we want to add Texas next year, we
'Cause I
could.
mean, if you were gonna do Texas, you could underground the ditch
Right.
with a sidewalk, but that's more expensive. And that's almost like a one project ask for SCA is the paving of it and putting a sidewalk in on the west side, right?
Right.
Because the east side has the most driveways and then it has like a whole bunch of the properties go downhill. Where
Yeah.
you'd be building up weird.
So are those kids coming all the way, they're coming all the way out to 47?
Yeah.
On Texas?
so according, yeah, and I've seen more, of course, I never saw anybody, I saw a few people run across from the, people would go across from the museum over to Texas, like jump off the curb or something, but it was pretty rare. But yeah, since they put that crosswalk in, all those kids that walk up the hill and then instead of going and it isn't any longer to go up to Missouri and then take the safe crossing across the highway, they're getting up to the top of the hill and then they're cutting straight across and then they're going up Texas. And then Stephanie confirms that by like in the mornings when she comes down, she's never seen more kids walking up Texas to the back of the school.
It's a new route and they can walk down
short.
that hill.
In their minds, it's quicker.
Well, and it's like you bypass the crossing guard, right? Because you're coming down Texas and then going down that
Yeah.
hill and you're right there.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of having to wait for it's like a new thing. They're interested.
So, yeah.
But that could be its own thing.
Doesn't the crosswalk,
Otherwise, I'll just leave. Like, just let me know.
Well, we can only, one person speak at a
I
time.
understand, but are you going to allow questions from the public today, this meeting?
Yeah, hang on for a minute. I'll get to you. Go ahead, Dan.
well, does the crosswalk crosses over to the east side of Texas, right?
Yeah.
So then if you put a sidewalk on the other side, what's the likeliness that the kids are going to cross over and use the sidewalk? Well, it's likely they're going to go right down the street.
They are, but the east side is like astronomically more
And
expensive.
yeah,
So,
it's
I
almost,
mean, if you want a sidewalk, it would be the west side. And there is a ramp that takes them across there, but that crosswalk at the very top of the hill is closed. There's a west side ramp, right? The east and west side of Texas are connected with a ramp there at the corner. But that
Okay.
crosswalk is closed at the top of the hill. Right? So when you're coming up, there's a ramp here and on the museum side it's closed. And then you cross Texas and there's a crosswalk. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they could cross there, cross again because there's a ramp and then we can make a crosswalk on the west. Yeah, they might still do that, but I think if it's repaved and cars are going fast enough and there's a sidewalk, kids are probably going to not want to be in that if it's passable quicker by cars.
So you'd put the sidewalk, if you were to, on Texas on the east.
On the west, on the Marge
In the
Dunet,
ditch.
on the Holtz. on
Oh, in the,
side.
okay.
Build the ditch,
Yeah, yeah.
culvert the ditch, catch basin.
Well, I know they'd use it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. According to the guidelines of the SCA, projects are available for design engineering and professional services. So could you add Texas under that category and then?
So it has to be for the project that you're doing.
Oh, it does.
You actually, it will pay for engineering and we have used it.
Not as a separate project.
No, it has to be for the project that you're getting done. Yeah, it can. It's not separate. Yeah, you can't, it would be awesome if you could tack on like an engineering project as one of your projects, but it has to be associated with the work that you're actually doing.
And maybe you could still do that for Texas.
Right.
Design of this, of undergrounding the culvert and the
Mm-hmm.
sidewalk, this is 60,000, maybe the sidewalk and that design part of how you put it, that would be.
And so this will be part of the, I guess, part of the discussion later. So again, staff has just been taking the SCA and all of our excess money and just putting it into repaving the worst streets up.
Yeah.
Now that we're not doing that, something that just for council's mind, I don't know how many of you will be around here in 2 years, hopefully, when we're looking at SCA, but it isn't going to be staff making a decision, right? We're going to come up with like 3 or 4, here's some SCA options, and it's going to come to council, or maybe council passes that on to a recommendation from Public Works Committee. But it's not going to be, Josette and I aren't going to feel comfortable just making a decision about a singular SCA project in the future, right? It's going to need to be an organizational decision and council looking at 3 or 4 different projects and, how much that is going to cost, how much we would need to budget on top of that if it was going to be more than the 250,000. And then, council, making the final decision on which project we're going to do. So that's another big change with the SCA, right? We're going to need staff certainly will support it, come up with ideas, help with information. But at the end of the day, council's going to, in the future, either hopefully in 2 years or next year, if we miss this one.
We're going to get it.
Okay.
So
I'm writing that down, Josette.
Yeah, we're gonna need, council sign off on these moving forward.
Good.
my only reservation on the 2 projects is we're falling short of our full funding. I mean, it's, we want to try to maximize as much as we can. And I understand you get constraints in the project, but an idea for you, which they should probably love. We're doing the sidewalk on the west side. All the way up. I assume we're going to put in an ADA ramp up there on North Street.
Yeah,
Why don't we do the east side too?
well, that's a good question. I got over and doing the alley approach on the east side as well. So if we're not going to take a risk on Texas, and it sounds like council is telling staff, don't add Texas in on this round, then I will go back to Robert and have him redo the Washington to do the east side sidewalk, the alley approach sidewalk, and the ADA ramp there to get it closer to the 250.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and the AD ramps on the north side of North Street if you need another little chunk of change, let's just maximize our take there. I mean, they can't blame us for going, and it's all in one project.
Okay, well, no, and I will,
I would be more comfortable, at least we're getting better bang for a buck.
then I will,
We can propose
yeah.
that.
And so
Yeah, 'cause
won't.
the
And I
Grange-
think-
The Grange is the one on the side of the Grange.
Yeah, it's skinny and broke up.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just like a 2 foot wide
Yeah.
asphalt strip. It isn't really, it's not a real sidewalk.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it was asphalt in it.
So I guess what coming out of this is is there consensus of council to add the other side, the east side up to North Street, the sidewalk into the project?
Try to get more out of Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get our 250,000.
Because, we have an ADA ramp issue in town. I mean,
Oh,
especially down in that area,
Yeah.
we're curved out all over in there.
yeah.
So I think any opportunity in these projects where we can resurrect that at probably about $4,000 a ramp.
There's a lot of students that use that
Yeah.
to walk to bridge.
Yeah,
Well, and
on
just.
the church there.
Yeah,
All of them come down that to go to the skate park and
Yeah,
yeah.
ball fields and yeah. And it's gonna have 2 crosswalks now, so it's probably best if we're connecting to where ODOT's already spent money. That should be kind of one of the
Another
narratives.
Yeah.
pet peeve.
And I think what Ben's trying to get at overall on this, we're going to have to kind of change, we're forced into changing how we're funding our projects. And we will have no problem putting in SCA grant projects. We got plenty of candidates, the big street, we're probably going to end up using some of it for State Street. We got Knott Street, we got Louisiana,
Weed.
Weed, Rose.
We got big projects that'll suck up $250,000 in one shot on each one of them each time. So it'll make life easier there. And what Angie's probably here for is how we're going to fund continuing keeping the rest of our town in shape, which is going to be on our dime, under our terms, instead of the state saying you put in all this fancy stuff, or the feds, you got to really do fancy stuff.
Well, and that was going to be, and Angie can talk about how much money we have, but that's kind of the other big question of the night is, how do you guys want to start setting up reserves or well, that's going to be part of it on a year-to-year basis. There was never really any budgeting. We took all the extra money and it just went into contract services and we used that for paving or any other little projects that came up, and then staff would just spend the money on whatever we needed. But now that, we are going to have things like 6th Avenue and Lincoln needs redone and a few of these other streets that are in really bad shape and we're going to have to, like Dale said, we're going to have to pay for it ourselves. That's also going to be part of the council's going to have to be making a decision, like looking at these numbers and saying, okay, here's our worst 3 streets or worst 2 streets. Put this specifically in the budget to do those streets. So.
Quick question. So on your budget for this, for Washington and Jefferson, I don't see anything that covers anything like admin for the city to pay for.
They won't let you do that in SCA.
That's stupid.
That's just part of,
Just part of getting their free money.
That's fine. And only 3.5% contingency. That's their limit.
these are ODOT's. So when Robert does not make these numbers up. So ODOT has a website. So like the square footage of curb and all of that,
They want you to estimate their.
you use their numbers. And so that's where he comes up with
Yeah.
with all of the, he's not,
You
yeah.
get a better deal than that if the paver is a lesser, but you have to submit with their numbers. So one thing I will say, and what Ben's leading to is the extra money, if you guys remember last budget cycle, we separated the fee and lieu money is now in its own fund, and we have a streets reserve. Potentially what we're looking for from council is for you guys to come up when Angie gives you what the potential extra money is, a policy similar to how you had water and sewer, where you earmark so much to go into streets reserve. And that's where the projects would come out of, like they do in the water and sewer reserves. Because there isn't anything right now that exists. And that's why Ben's saying we would just throw it all in contract services. And if we didn't do a project or didn't get an SCA or use it, it just stays in the checkbook, right? But it would be smarter to start stockpiling. So when we do have big skin in the game, or we do have something we want to do on our own, or we do collect enough, we could bust out the maintenance that you guys are wanting to do.
So I know there was talk about call it a reserve more as like an emergency fund, having, maybe we put that in the reserve language that there's a reserved amount. But I mean, we're carrying a pretty good contingency this year in there. I mean, it's one or the other. I would kind of
Right.
think, I mean, you always got to have a certain amount of contingency, but
Yeah, because we, in the budget this last year, we transferred 100,000 into. So there's $100,000 in a street reserve fund right now.
right for the match.
That was supposed to be for state. So my intention was to just, that is the street reserve fund. We, rather than create another reserve fund for projects, we'll just do one, but then we have policy attached to it, just like the other ones. And you either have, you come up with a minimum that you want that fund balance to be at all times for potential emergencies. If there's a water main break or something, where you got to fix the road, we have a minimum. And then also come up with an annual amount that we can shoot for. And the thing with streets is it's not dependent on the rates like water and sewer, where we can decide, you guys picked a number and we just make sure that we get it. With this, it's just going to depend on year to year what is left over at the end of the year. And so like I went through and did a quick little forecast and with, where'd it go? With generally when I do the forecast for the year, I use all of the payroll expense just in case. We never use all the payroll budget in streets. So I did it where it's probably most likely going to land. But anyway, that gives us, with keeping $60,000 in the contingency, it's about $100,000 to play with. So we can either decide to put all of that into reserve, which I don't love that idea, or you guys pick a number, and it's obviously going to have to go through the budget process anyway, but that's where we can start. Now, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen next year, that we're going to have that kind of money at the end of the year, because whatever we pull out of that is just that much less that's going to roll forward to the next budget cycle.
So you're talking it's a 100,000 one time. Do you got any idea what the reoccurring is?
It's hard to tell because it's been so all over the place the last few years.
Well, and it's like lack of snow, so there's no snow, there's no winter
Yeah.
salary cost or fuel cost or any of that for plowing.
And we haven't been doing any, like the paving ate up a lot of it before.
And that's what we would always do, like
But paving is surplus. I mean, to me, that was surplus.
But it was always, we're paving on the SCA and then we're just tacking on that to get the most
Right.
that we can and get the most economy of scale out of hiring the pavers just to repave streets. And that's kind of what I was saying, like if you want to have like an emergency reserve fund and start building that up in the reserve and a policy, but then in each budget cycle, then we're looking at you're looking at the streets report and saying, Angie's saying, well, we have $100,000 to spend. Let's do 6th Avenue out of it. Or that's going to be the other part of council in the budget is like that regular repaving work, picking a project saying, well, 6th Avenue is going to be for $40,000. Chunking that out as part of the reserve or putting it into contract services and then directing staff, hire the paver to come out and redo 6th.
So do we have any idea on what their mobilization costs are every time we?
No, I mean, we could get it. We could ask Ross or somebody to give us an estimate.
Because, I mean, we used to tag on to the FCA grants. I'm going to probably balk a little. We'll be throwing money with the FCA grants because then we won't have funding for our other little streets. We got two pots of gold here, big projects and all the residential stuff. We got, I mean, it's big to take care of all that residential stuff. If we start shifting it over here on the big projects, somebody's going to go without real quick.
The reality is, so say you get SCA, right, for Washington Jefferson. You can add an ad alternate for 6th Avenue.
Right, and I agree.
Put the money in the budget, then when they're mobilized out here, whoever gets that just goes and pays that with.
And that was,
we pay that
that was
check.
the point I was
Yeah.
going to make was economy of scale.
Yeah.
Of if there's a mobilization cost, then that's when we have this reserve, then we pull the trigger in conjunction with the SA project, not on it, but
Or you just put it in contract services ahead of the budget, council drags it out. Hey, we want 40,000 before we put anything to reserves to be in contract services for the next budget cycle. Yeah, it still has to go through the budget committee, but that's a thoughtful decision. So it stays in contract services. And then if you get SCA, you pull that trigger. If you don't get SCA, it just stays there and rolls into the next year.
And that would come from the contingency, the 100,000.
It would come from whatever, before you do the next year's budget, it would come from whatever she's forecasting is extra.
But Angie's kind of asking us, okay, I have $100,000 in a contingency. Say we decide to set up a new reserve fund.
There is a reserve fund. You just have to designate.
What do you want to do with that $100,000? Do you want to put
Like 50,000.
towards or
Yeah.
40,000 redo 6th Avenue,
Okay.
60,000 into reserves?
Right.
Angie and I were kind of beating heads when we were looking at the budget numbers, but it really is that like streets is kind of all over the place. It's not as predictable as like water and sewer. And then it's hard to tell because we'd always just take all of our extra money and just toss it on SCA. We were never really,
And in years past, I mean,
Like
there's a lot of
budgeting.
years where the carry forward was very low. It would be in the 60,000s and our contingency would be $2,500.
Yeah.
There was a lot of years where streets didn't have carry forward. It was tight every year. So we really kind of got the flush or the influx came when we had all this ODOT crap going on and we didn't get our grant money until 2 years later. And then we had that $250,000 sitting there. And that's kind of what's been carrying this. And then obviously the gas tax has been coming in pretty good, but you never know what that's going to do. That's the only source of income for streets is gas tax. So if people start panicking and not going anywhere and
So Angie, you're showing 61,484 in contingency now, right?
yes, this year. And we moved 100,000 out to that reserve fund for the State Avenue project.
Right, right.
So this year, or for next year going forward, it's kind of, I use 60,000 as a contingency number, which is 35% of the operating fund, which is high for contingency, but that's really the only guaranteed amount that will roll forward if we pull all the rest of that out, because when you write your budget, you write it to zero. If you spend every dime that you budgeted, then you end the year with nothing. So that's where the contingency is important.
Yeah.
To keep it at a decent number so that you have something to start the next year with.
So it's partially an emergency fund too. I mean, I think
Kind of,
it is.
yeah.
But
so this is,
I don't have a problem with just, we just make it anything excess other above your contingency left over out of the budget year, it just goes to the reserves. It goes to reserves and we do the others, we build projects, they get then contract services
Yeah,
out
it
of
gets
the
paid for
reserve.
out of that fund instead of this fund.
So I'm trying to think the timing. So we don't know about SCA till fall. We apply in the spring, right? They're
Yeah, it's open
pretty-
now.
It's open now. That's why it's open. So then I wanted to talk to you. Show you, we talked about the money, adding Texas, what we want to do. I know I got the plan. So first thing tomorrow, I'm going to email and call Robert and be like, get the east side of Washington added in and those other crosswalks and stuff. He'll get the new numbers and then I will sign in to the ODOT portal and start putting in for these grants.
So we get awarded in the fall. We usually don't pay till after July of the next year. Just the way paving is. So we would know next year budgeting if we have SCA. So we would know when we have an SCA grant going into budget, then we could go ahead and bring loose our other projects
You
out of
could
the
do it
reserve.
in between, if you knew, if say it's a crazy dry thing and you're gonna, you hit and fall and you're paving in November, she's gonna know if there's money and it's just an act of, right? Pulling it out of the reserve and putting it into the whatever council determines. So it's not like it's hard for you guys to make that decision.
Okay.
But if there's
Just thinking through the
so
process.
say on a year when it's not SCA, are you guys interested in your policy is going to put everything over the normal contingency or a 35% contingency goes into reserve? Then that's something you would direct staff to do in a meeting. So then we could put that as the note in the budget.
No, we would add it to that reserve.
I just think if there's mobilization costs, it would be silly to do those projects independently.
Yeah.
But we could
Unless-
still move the money every year if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah, well, we got the money, but
Yeah.
why would we spend extra mobilization costs? That's just a waste of our funds.
So then what we'll do is bring you the reserve policy amended.
Unless we keep not getting SCA, we eventually we'll have so much money, we'll pull a big project.
Yeah. But we'll have to bring the reserve policy amended with this added on. So then SCA and reserves aside, what is your guys' philosophy about, like, from what I'm hearing, tell me if I'm wrong, your SCA is present to you the big ones that we think could meet it. So we know that's, Weed, Louisiana, Block Estate, Heart of Rose, something. Give you those. Is there any other things you're wanting to do? Like you guys had talked about potentially crack sealing or chip sealing as a test on some of the streets that have cracks that go to nowhere. Is that something?
Those would be projects out of that reserve.
But how are you guys wanting to see that? Like, we know the poor and marginal, that's not in the poor and marginal. That's not really in the river.
Right, no, I mean, Ben and I had the discussion, once the road base, like take Jefferson in front of the store. You could crack seal that, but it would never last. It's breaking all up. But from the store to the park, that's but it's lighter traffic.
Yeah,
I think that's a candidate we've been discussing, because if we can do, not crack sealing, but chip seal. If you can do some chip sealing with some of these, it buys us so much more coverage. And I think that oil going into those cracks has really ties things back up again. I think it's an experiment we need to try at least in one location. Rose Avenue would be a prime other example. Instead of trying to pave a big, long stretch, I think we could chip seal that and come up with a pretty good, there's not a lot of heavy traffic unless somebody's going to log out there on the end, but.
Well, and they probably will. Holtz has got.
Yeah,
so
someday.
for those other streets that aren't SCA candidates, how are you wanting staff to bring that forward? We would just bring it forward in the streets report every year or what?
Just like, and then when you guys budget, I guess, you just look at these numbers and pick what you want to do and tell us, I guess, and budget for it.
We're probably not gonna do chip sealing till we get the rest of the poor marginal streets done.
Right,
But,
right.
you know, and I ran the numbers that Ben had done earlier this spring, and it's 152 grand, which would get all this and Lincoln and that little piece down there on the old Bridge Street.
Yeah.
It'd pick up all of our stuff. So once we get that done, then, you know, we'll see some of these streets that we know are fading, and I think we should try, if we get there without one going to the point that we think it's not worthwhile to chip seal it. I think then when you bring those chip seal projects to us.
Okay, so we'll just use the streets report annually.
Yeah,
Is the heads up for what could be as SCA, what does exist out there with the other.
And then just as a heads up, it's council in the budgeting process. Going in every year, council's going to have to be more involved in that decision making of what you want to do and where you want to see the excess money go, if there is excess money, and how it's
Well, I think what
spent year to
they've
year.
decided is ahead of the 35% contingency, we're going to amend the reserve fund and the excess is going to go straight into reserves.
and then we'll be, after a few years, we'll be seeing what that money kind of looks like,
Yeah.
you know, kind of ballpark average.
Yeah.
So,
But just to be clear, so we're just gonna, all the excess money this year into reserves, and then we're just gonna hold tight, wait to see what SCA and the appropriations does.
Yeah.
And then,
Those monies.
and then it would be in next year's budget cycle, we'd be going in, seeing where we were, and then start making decisions about maybe doing a few of the repave projects and stuff like that. Is that what
wouldn't be this year's budget, it'll be the next year.
Rick was?
And just in your estimation, not streets already been engineered, what do you think that would probably be one big project for SCA funds?
And it is, well, it could, yeah, it totally could be.
And what do you think the estimated cost?
Well, we actually, well, I tacked a little bit extra on,
Yeah,
just for increase in costs. Where did,
it's on the page 4.
oh, yeah. Yeah, 350,000 is what the estimate is. Now, that being said, and one of the thing that was, I know was kind of off-putting, and it's also, in there, is that, doing an upgrade where we're doing curb and gutter and sidewalks and a widening and the whole thing, when we have the bad water line and the water master plan calls for the next reservoir to be up on the hill at the end of Knott Street. And that was and I didn't change the $1.5 million numbers. That water main upgrade's probably $2 million now. Do we really want to upgrade Knott? But yeah, Knott is completely doable.
But one of the options too is if you're really going to look at going for an SCA for that much, it would be a compelling story to say you're going to use SDC funds to upgrade that line so it can someday have the reservoir and put it, you know what I'm saying? You can use other monies if you were going to sell it that way.
Can we use the buyout lot we can't put any infrastructure on it?
Which buyout law?
Well, any of the ones down there on the tree streets?
Put them like what?
What if you put a
Water tower in.
water tower in?
Well, we have,
That was one thing the Public Works Committee, when we were looking at that, to run that big line all the way out Knott Street to get to the hill. So we had pressure. Seemed to be a waste of.
Ultimate reality though is that you could end up having, I mean, it's long-term, right? You could end up having development up there that you needed that pressure for. If that light industrial area, you would need that pressure
Yeah,
further up.
But one of those tall.
Full water
tower.
Water towers,
Yeah.
like say they're road diggers or, or one of them in there
Yeah,
Mhm.
would still serve that area.
we'd have to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just,
Well,
to us, it
we
seemed like
couldn't-
that cost for that, running that pipe all
Now,
the way up there
we
was
couldn't,
kind of prohibitive.
we couldn't use the buyout lots would be a tough sell for that kind of infrastructure. Not that it wouldn't
What
be
about the lot?
possible, but that's what I was gonna say, is the lot that we
Yeah.
just acquired.
Yeah.
You could put something there. I don't know the difference between like, and this would be kind of a question for Robert, just a conceptual thing for us to understand if you're bringing up something like a water tower. Whereas like our reservoirs, we just pump into the system and the excess pressure just trickle fills the reservoirs. That's how they're set up, right? You don't have two lines. I believe, if my understanding is correct, with water towers, you have to pump water up. It's a two-lane system. There's a line from your water production or your water source, whatever that is, you pump up, and then there's the gravity down. So I'm not trying to, but I would just think that the physics or how it physically works I might just ask Robert that, but I'm pretty sure that with actual water towers that are above ground, you have to pump up to fill them. There's a pumping up and then there's gravity down. So,
I mean, the height differential, it should fill with gravity. You should got plenty of head from that reservoir. I mean.
but well, we have to do that here.
300
That's
foot
why
high.
That's why we have the booster.
that's why we have the booster pump here. It isn't to provide
Well,
pressure.
yeah, for that one is probably pretty close to being equal to Stony Point in height.
Well, that's what I'm,
Right, but,
That's 1,000 feet up.
right, but what we're saying is.
That down there is 1,000 foot to probably 650.
but I think it's the getting up. It's your grade getting up. I don't think.
We're engineering here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if you had never mind. I was just saying you had a 200-foot water tower, we're going to have some kind of pumping station at the base to get, it isn't going to feed like there. And this reservoir requires the pumping station to fill it, right?
People will come and take pictures. And you can paint Vernonia on
You
this.
can put Vernonia on the
I
side.
am not kidding.
So, yeah, but, I mean, but, go ahead.
Well, is Knott Street a possibility to chip seal? Is that,
And we've talked
Well,
about that as the
we
interim.
talked, so the $350,000 is just up to the end of the subdivision. And it's actually on the project list from the end of Nickerson Loop to the end is chip sealing. We have that as a chip seal project, and which is,
The bigger Knott Street project is widening towards Curls, not necessarily on the driveway side because you have
Yeah.
all those driveways to intersect.
Putting in a culvert.
You could cover the culvert and ditch, put your sidewalk there and go that way because there is a lot of traffic there, two-way traffic, and it's very narrow when it's heavily used by the church or the neighbor.
and we get,
And the bike.
now we have a
Bike
trail
lane,
thing
there is
there.
also traffic the neighbors weren't using.
By the way, has anyone been out to Holt's Trailhead yet lately?
It's getting there.
It's pretty cool.
But I mean, and
Understand their drive up top that goes nowhere though.
What?
Past the bollards,
Yeah,
up the hill.
yeah. Well, you
Well,
got where you turn into the parking lot. And then you go a little farther, you got another one that pulls like you're gonna go down the railroad grade to the Coon Creek. Why'd they pave?
I think that it was part of paving Pulse's approach to the land he has behind there, right? Wasn't it like
Yeah.
you can have access to this land, but you
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
create it so he didn't break off the
I
corner.
don't know if he can get around the corner though.
Yeah.
It's, look,
It didn't look like a straight, I said that when I gave my 2 cents about that project, that it looked like a jog.
have to go look at it.
Yeah, I mean, Knott Street would be, I mean, that would definitely be depending if we had the excess reserve funds for it.
Yeah.
And we could put in for an SCA on that, 250 plus 100,000. It would probably be a little more by the time we got to that in the future, but that could definitely be.
Because I mean, let's see, State Street project, we're putting in for $1 million. I'm being told that it's
Yeah.
probably going to be double that now because of federal requirements.
So they'll get you 2 blocks, $1 million.
We're gonna get 2 blocks.
Yeah.
Because we got to put in storm drainage on every corner of those
You gotta
intersections.
upgrade this treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah. There already are catch.
I've never seen a
basins.
drainage issue down there in any of
No,
those.
there's already catch basins there. You have to upgrade the treatment component. So you have to put in new catch basins that have like the oil separator, because when you're using federal money, they want you to benefit the water you're having on the road go to the river, right? So another option to that is that we own the property right adjacent to where it goes into the river. So the catch basins are the cheaper option than putting in like a system down there by the flood, because how valuable could it really be if it gets flooded?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there is everything comes with hoops, whether it's state money, federal money, everything's got, you just jump through the hoops to get their money, which is fine. Hey, it saves us a heck of a lot. I mean,
But
in
you got,
10 years, we've gotten what, $2.5 million from ODOT to pave streets, which we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Galen, I like the suggestion of doing a short section of chip seal and see what it does
yeah,
before you commit to some big project.
I mean, Knott Street,
Yeah, it's,
we might have to chip seal just to get us there to the project. Because I'm, like I say, I'm trying to run in my head here. We're looking probably 2 million on State Street. You're probably looking, well, in Louisiana, you're probably looking at probably $500,000 there, probably easy.
it just depends.
On-
Yeah.
Well, and if the state's money, it may not go so far because they're going to require more, but Weed Avenue, if we do that,
Yeah.
we're looking to do all these projects. We're looking $4 or $5 million,
Yeah.
over. So, and then getting $250,000 every other year. That's what,
Well,
4 million, I mean, 4 years when it gets you $500,000.
Yeah. Doesn't go very far.
4 years gets you $1 million.
4 years.
Oh, you mean by skipping the years or 4 cycles?
You get $250,000 every other year,
Oh, yeah.
so you get $500,000 in 4 years.
Yep.
We're looking at a lot of years here, folks,
Yeah.
to get the big project done. I mean, we're gonna have to do something with State Street there, at least at the bottom,
Yeah.
that real rough section.
Hopefully we can get some
I mean,
infrastructure dollars.
but, so, like I said, there's no problem finding
Yeah.
one big project for SCA going forward after, we're trying to get this stuff fixed this time, but
Well, ODOT has been, things have not been great with ODOT and their money. They do have good grants though for bigger projects, but they're all 50% cash in hand.
Yeah.
So they have money, but you have to come with
The money too.
you have to come in with your full engineering and have half of the money in hand. And when I was looking at like some of their grants, so like when Cornelius Pass Road from 26 up to Winco, what was it, 3, 4, 5 years ago or something? And that was, ODOT paid for half of that, but Hillsborough paid for all the engineering and had half of the money up front. And then ODOT comes in. That's kind of the other, and that's part of why the SCA exists, is because small towns can't, they're trying to give everybody a fair shake with the money. We can't, we just don't have the funds to save up that money and from other sources or gas tax to save up that much money to to get those grants.
I have a question. Are these considered big enough projects for the SCA?
Which projects?
The projects you're proposing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you
Just
can
wanna make sure
propose.
I just want to make sure they're not going to, oh,
No, and they have the pedestrian
Yeah.
aspect, which is one of the key.
Yeah.
right.
And we're doing a storm, there is going to be a minor stormwater upgrade on, part of Washington is a stormwater upgrade there.
I haven't seen the rules, so I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not aware of.
No, it's just, yeah. They just want to see like basically a singular project or two projects where you're using the
Where they could
money.
drive by and be like, oh, look at the new sidewalk we
Right.
paid for, right? Oh, there's treatment. Oh. I don't know if they do that, but they want to be able to, not just drive down the road and go, I think we paid for this paving.
Yeah, and it was funny. I was talking with Jeff about it and we were going to go out. Jeff and I went out and met with Robert to look at these projects and get Jeff's, opinion and stuff on it. And Jeff was like, who is this woman at ODOT? I'm going to give her a call. And I was like, you're not changing her mind, Jeff. And he's like, oh, I don't know about this. And then we go out and look and we look at Jefferson, we go look at Washington. And once he sees like, oh, I can fix Washington, I can get an actual real approach into the parking lot there. I can put in the rest of the bollards and not just have traffic everywhere in this big muddy mess.
It's okay.
Yeah, he was like, oh, yeah, oh, okay, this is pretty good. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Just had to sell
Yeah. And I get it too. I was angry too, because that was we did a lot of good work over
them. Right.
the last 20 years. We paved a lot of streets in this town with that SCA money.
It
So,
was working good.
Yeah.
They may turn around yet again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
well, and we're getting ahead of the curve. The guys are, just as a quick update, we're going to be, it's in the budget. We're going to be getting the crack sealer again. So they're going to do it. I was thinking that it might be kind of the end and then maybe it'd be like 2 or 3 years and then before we'd budget again. But I think Jeff is thinking about in this year, adding it again in for the next fiscal year and going out and just going over things quickly again, hitting up anything we missed this year and really tightening it up. And then it'll probably be 3 years before we need to, just depend, we'll keep an eye out, but 2-3 years before we will need to budget for that again. So.
Yeah. So you're going to be carrying around 60K for contingency. We've got 100 in there right now because of potential for State Avenue. So, I'm just going to broach this is how long are we going to hold that money? I mean, it'd be well worth it if we could get 10% on $1 million. That's a good payout. But again, if this just keeps going down the road, they dangle the carrot, but we never get it.
Yeah, that's just a council decision.
I mean,
How many times you want to go for it?
yeah, how many times you're going to go for?
Minimum of 5 times generally before you'll get it. Minimum.
Minimum of 5 times?
And there's no guarantee that on number 6 you're going to get it, but the average has been people trying 5 times.
Crazy.
Yep.
I guess it's earning interest, huh? Not so much this year.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
Because,
The next, if, once we get it, then you won't have to ask that.
yeah, then it's done. Huh? Well, we'd probably want to do it again, but, well, we wouldn't qualify for any federal, though, nothing else. That's the only street.
Yeah, that's the only federally recognized collector, yeah.
Go ahead, Don.
Guess that answers that question.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of following with Dale. I think some of our streets that are still halfway decent, but are getting a lot of alligator cracking. If we could chip seal them with at least 2 layers of chip seal,
We talked about that too, yeah.
we might be able to keep the breaking up down. I believe the water going through the blacktop and ruining our base is our biggest problem.
Yeah, definitely.
And even, we was out of town for a few days and going even down the highway and you see where they ground to put the reflectors below the pavement. So when they snow plowed, they didn't rip them. There were some places where they joined the pavement and then they dipped it out, big old chunks out because the water got in there, froze and broke it loose.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it was a good idea to start with, but in areas where you got a lot of freezing,
right,
it's not a good thing unless you got, I would say, 4 inches of blacktop
right.
before you grind a divot.
Yeah,
So you have a good seal where if you do 2 inches and you grind 1 3/4 down,
right. You're barely going to skiff.
Well, and if, if we were talking, and that, I would like to try that, but when we're looking at where we actually just absolutely need a repave, we basically have 3 projects, 6th Avenue, Lincoln, off of State to Public Works, and then just that one piece of Old Bridge Street down at the lake. Those are our 3 poor streets that just need a repave and would have been done if we would have got the last SCA grant. But no, I think that we should, and I think that,
Maybe when they're crack sealing, they can keep their eyes open for contenders where they're putting a
Yeah.
lot of material. That might be
Yeah.
the ones to pay attention
And
to
then-
for a double test layer of, to go crack seal.
We've got some ideas, and I made notes when I was grading streets.
But they only did one layer, right?
They only did one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
And some of them where the base was okay, still okay. Not,
not Elm Street.
No, they're,
the
potholes.
undulations just
and
didn't do anything to hide those.
a rough street's a rough street.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any better.
I assumed there would have been some packing or
Like a great.
maybe if they would have sprayed some tar down, put some rock and kind of leveled it out before they did the chip sealing for the final top,
Yeah,
might have been better off. But
yeah. And I think.
just spraying it, it's kind of like I see people, oh, we'll put some crushed rock on this road to get rid of the potholes.
Yeah.
Well,
It don't work.
it's 1 or 2 inches everywhere, and where the potholes are, you still got the potholes because it's only 2 inches.
Yeah.
Well, the other went up 2 inches too.
No, I think we experiment some of what we can afford to do.
Yeah,
And I have talked about that double layer in some circumstances. Do a stretch with a single and do one with a double one.
test it.
And will neither one be alive by then.
Well, and we can, well, we'll keep that in mind. So, and then it just sounds like we're just reserving this year and riding out these 2 grant opportunities. And then next year we'll
Come back and discuss.
come back with a plan, and we still have our list of projects, and now just the count for where, next year we'll be coming with ideas, and you guys will have some, not this year, but next year, some decisions to make about where you want money to go.
Question. So if we don't get the SCA grant this fall, is it too late to do something with that contingency money? A smaller project?
Well, that's the thing, the mobilization kind of prices, you have to spend a lot of money.
Okay, yeah.
That's the only reason to, I mean,
Got it.
maybe that something happens and you get a good deal or something, and council could always decide that after, once we know. But we're gonna get it.
I like the optimism.
Well,
The federal grant?
we were supposed to, we supposedly got bonus points for not getting it last year, so.
But there were a lot of applications like that.
Yep.
A lot of people got bonus points there too, didn't they?
It was like 100, in years past, there would be like 20 or 30 towns that was another reason that we kind of got discounted.
We've been so successful.
We'd been successful, but in the past, like 20 or 30 towns would put in for SCA, and then they put out the newsletter that came out this spring. I think it was last year, all 137 qualifying towns put in for money last year on SCA. So I kind of got a feeling, even if we would have just came in with one or two projects like this, we might not have even, we may have got to the grading state, not got kicked out for having too many just repay projects, but we may have not even gotten it then. So, but hopefully, yeah, hopefully this year, which is amazing to me, really. I was really surprised that more, we lived and died on that SCA for paving
Yeah.
for 20 years. I couldn't believe that there's that many towns that
Yeah, what
Could have
were they
been.
doing?
putting in for free money. And then I guess times got really tough and everybody decided,
It's worth it.
yeah, I'm going to put in the, the time and effort. Well, and you probably have a lot of towns that just, maybe they've, just got a city clerk and,
Yeah.
they don't have a full-time staff that's on top of that stuff. And you just don't, with everything else that you're doing, you just don't have the capacity to, take advantage of all those opportunities.
Okay, any other discussion? Sure.
Any other options for funding for Texas? Have you ever gotten Safe Routes to School funding? It's so close to the school and it's all used by kids. It seems
We
like a
haven't.
great candidate for-
We could look into it for
Because
it.
they're state and federal.
Yeah,
I feel like Stephanie looked into it one year briefly.
yeah, we haven't ever applied though, but we could look into it.
Yeah, they could pay for filling in the ditch and putting the sidewalk down that
Those
side.
neighbors would hate you.
Huh?
Those neighbors would hate you.
Yeah.
I mean, some places it's this deep.
Oh, yeah.
By Alabama, that guy, his whole thing is a sledge.
Oh, on the east side?
Yeah,
Yeah, the east side's terrible.
But
You meant that, right?
you would storm drain, you would pipe it all, so you,
but what's the backside of the hill you're putting on his property look like? Stone? Retaining wall?
I think Dale meant filling the ditch,
Oh.
putting the sidewalk
Oh,
on
that
the
side.
yeah.
west side.
I thought you meant on the east side.
No.
I was like, that
No,
guy's
west
gonna
side.
hate you. He'll need a
Fill the
retaining
ditch.
wall.
Right.
Yeah,
So Safe Routes to School, they fund that.
okay, I'll look into it.
And we could piggyback that project.
All right.
Okay, anything else? Well, thank you, Ben and Angie and everyone here tonight. So I'll adjourn the meeting at 7:12. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.